I signed the Northern Rock. Still hungover from Tuesday. Must we take this banker's crock? In God we trust, says on the bill. From blue bust, make it a thrill. You can steal your life, dominate your goals, make trouble and strife. Seek another soul, this little paper dainty.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Sorry about the very sudden duck there of the audio. I clicked the wrong button. But anyway, you've been listening to RJ Hagler's mix of my song Paper Deity. He has made some very, very interesting and very cool production decisions there. And it sounds pretty good. So RJ, my friend, if you're watching, I will have some feedback for you, my friend. I'll drop you a wee email and we'll get that squared away. So good evening, everybody. And I just want to say right at the top of the show, Bob Studios, welcome. Glad you're here. Glad you could make it. And you clicked through and you got here. Awesome. Because I know you've been having one or two difficulties trying to get into the show, but I'm glad you're here, and you are most definitely in the right place. Where is he, RJ? That's a very good question. I'm not entirely sure. He sent me a message just a short while ago suggesting that maybe I used his mix as the intro music for tonight's show, and which was great timing because I was actually trying to think about what I was going to do. So I was rapidly going through what's in my playlist, and he messaged me at exactly the right time. So there we go. That's that sorted. So that's fantastic. So let's go take a look at who is here. We've got all sorts of fantastic familiar faces here. Let's go take a look. Just Bob was first through the door, and Ken Moss is here. Bobby Booth. No show can be complete without Bobby Booth. And Thomas, I'm going to mispronounce your last name, Thomas, so I'm not even going to attempt it. I am a wussy sometimes when it comes to names. And of course, Bob Studios is here. Lollipop Guild. And my good friend Sheila is here. Mike Neighbor of Peace Value Audio is here. He says, Happy Father's Day to all you dads hello everyone else. Awesome. Yes, thank you very much, Mike. And this is the Father's Day edition of the show. So a very happy Father's Day to every one of you that has kids or grandkids. You count just as well. Or if you have adopted children, or if you are fostering, same goes to you. A very happy Father's Day. Let's see. You're asking about my metatarsals. Yeah, pretty much healing is complete, which is good news because I have been on the road a lot just recently. I've just come back from Glasgow, and we made a pit stop en route to Glasgow to Burnt Island to go see my parents and all of that, which was nice. And I met up with my Australian family in Glasgow, and I did some studio stuff whilst I was there as well, which is I basically tied the two things together. It was awesome. We had a great time, and we just got back not that long ago, and then the next challenge was making sure my kids were asleep, which they were when I came in the door. Everything was cool. Even my wife is asleep, which is great. So I was able to come in here and shut the door and get set up super fast. So I was very glad to make it because I was a little bit close as to whether I was going to make it or not. So let's see. Kyle is here as well. Kyle Traduziak. Good to see you, buddy. And Greg Thomas is here. Mika, of course, who was asking about my metatarsals, which is great. He's also saying, I'm having issues with 4. Also, if I'm using Studio One 3.5.6, at this point, known issues with my interfaces. Yet there are some small issues with some interfaces. It is by no means affecting every interface, but there is a certain issue with some interfaces. With Studio One 4.5.1. The guys at Presonus are well aware of it, and they are on the hunt to figure out exactly which interfaces are affected, and they've gathered some good data now and some good evidence, so they are at work on it. Not sure when they will release the next maintenance update, but I'm pretty sure that there will be one very much forthcoming because there are a couple of issues that are on their hit list to deal with. But pretty much a lot of the major things are sorted out now. A lot of them. Not all of them, but certainly a lot of them are sorted out. And I'm pretty sure that they will have all the rest taken care of in due course. So, yes, so you're just going to have to be patient, folks. And if you happen to be one of the unfortunate ones that has different interfaces and both of them are affected by the crackling and the popping and that kind of stuff, if that's you, then you are double unlucky. I have to say, you are double unlucky. And you may have to play around with your buffer settings until you find something that works. Or you may have to go into your BIOS and tinker around with the settings there to see if that helps. I know some people that have done both and have had some success, and now have a stable system where they are happy working in 4.5.1. Yeah, I believe the Scarlett 2i2, I think, is on the list of interfaces, I think, that has a known issue. I think that's what you guys are talking about. Anyway, so tonight's show, it's Father's Day special, so that's kind of the deal. So you guys who are dads, if you need to go off and go and have family time, that is all cool. I'm not expecting to have a huge audience in particular here tonight because of the fact that it is Father's Day and you fathers are probably being spoiled rotten right now. We have 19 people in here. We did have 22 a few moments ago, but we have 19 now. That's okay. As I say, I wasn't necessarily anticipating a massive crowd this evening. So, where are we at? I got a couple of things to talk about, not just talking about bugs that need fixed. But I've got a couple of other things that I want to talk about as well. One is a very cool way you can use side chaining to make sure your vocal stays on top of your mix. For some of you, it will be an old trick. For some of you, you probably haven't thought of doing this before, and that's okay. If you know this trick, then that is cool. And maybe you can kind of help out in the chat a little bit. With some other questions that might pop up as we're going along. But if you are not familiar with this particular trick, then sit up and pay attention, because I will go through this relatively quickly, and if there's anything you don't understand about it, then by all means ask in the chat, and I will go over things again if necessary. But it's actually a relatively straightforward, simple trick, and it's easy to do. And it can make a real difference, actually, to making your vocal always stay on top of your mix, which is pretty much what you want. And particularly if you're doing something that is going to be used on TV, or it's going to be used as part of a film, the vocal needs to be very upfront. You know, sometimes more upfront than you would for a commercial release for a record, for example. You often find that if you're watching, let's say, a musical film like The King and I or something like that, you will hear the vocal very, very upfront when you're watching it on telly. But then when you go and buy the CD and you're listening to the mix on the CD, you may find that it's actually quite different. That yes, the vocal is upfront, but it's not maybe quite as upfront as it is for TV or for film. So there is a cool little side chaining trick, and yes, it is side chaining, Mika. Absolutely, and we are going to use the new 4.5.1 feature. That's my good friend Mike. He's messaging me. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead and do that. I have absolutely no problem with you posting the link to your side chaining video, which is very cool. It's a very good one, actually. So definitely go post that in the chat. I think people will benefit quite a lot for that. So let's get into this whole side chaining thing first, and then we'll come and tackle the other things after that. All right. I hope everyone is happy with that. Mika says he's seeing 21 people just now, which is good. Just Bob says, why are my drums coming through perfectly with my Atom drums and cymbals, but when I use my electronic kit, only the drums come through, but not the cymbals, using MIDI for drums, USB for Atom. I don't have an Atom, so unfortunately I can't really address the specifics to do with the Atom, but quite oftentimes it might be something to do with a difference in the triggering level between your electronic drum set and when you're clicking the mouse on the pads on impact. You may find that there is a difference, and that's actually kind of meant to be, because when you're clicking the pads on impact, you're just auditioning the sound. So it just triggers at one particular velocity all the time, which I think is going to be like 120 something. So you may need to change the velocity settings on the brain of your drum set in order to get that correct. I think that's what you might have to do. Yeah, so it could well be just a disparity between the velocity, the kind of default velocity level that you have on the Atom and on your drum set. So give those a little play around with and see what happens. Happens. Did I say happens? Happens is not a word. Happens is a word. Okay, let's get into this. So let's go. Where's my mouse gone? There it is. And let's get into Studio One. And I need the effects tab open. All right, so how do we make our vocal sit on top of the mix at all times? Well, there are many and various different ways. You can do serial compression, where you are stacking compressors one on top of the other. I've kind of done a little bit of that here. I've got the fat channel and I've got the Brainworks opto compressor as well. So I've got like the EQ and the 1176 going into the opto. That is one way. You can also then go and run it through a parallel compression bus, which is what I have here as well. So that's two ways in which I'm enabling my vocal to pretty much always sit on the top of the mix. Automation would be another way in which you can do that. A lot of people do that, but you can also duck. So what I mean by that is you can duck your music, your rhythm section, your horns, whatever else is in your arrangement. You can duck all of that behind your vocal. So every time your vocal is singing, your music ducks by a dB or two, and it can be really effective. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So some of you guys might already know how to do this. In which case you are blessed and you can help out in the chat in the meantime whilst I'm showing you how to do this. All right, so first thing you need to do is create a bus for all of your buses apart from your lead vocal bus. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to grab this one. I'm going to hold shift, grab that one, right click, and then I'm going to go add bus for selected channels. Now we're going to rename this guy Music. M-U-S-I-C. I'm not going to bother to change the color of it just now. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And now what we have is we have all of those buses going to this guy before it goes to the main output over here. And that is what we want, because what we want to do now is we want to go and grab our compressor and bring it into our newly created channel. I'm going to turn that off because I don't want it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this new button. If you've not seen this before in Studio One 4.5, this is brand new. This is what they are calling reverse sidechain. It's not really reverse sidechain, I don't think. It's much more, hey, this is kind of the one-click way to sidechain. Whereas before you had to create a send and everything else, and then connect up that send to the whatever it is that you're wanting to sidechain compress. Now you don't need to do that. You can just click this, drop down your list, and what appears is everything that is in your session. So I have all of, and look at this, it's even got the correct colors. Isn't that fantastic? So even if you're just not going to read it, you can certainly go by your color coding. And it shows every channel, bus channel. It doesn't show up reverbs, but it certainly shows up every other channel in your session. And the one I want is the lead vocal bus here. So I'm going to check that there. And now what will have happened if I scroll over here is that we now have another send here that was created when we set up the sidechain. So that is all set, ready to go. And what I want to do is I want to dial this threshold back so that I am only tapping the vocal by a dB or two at the very most. So let's just find where the vocal starts. Okay, we're set up in the right spot. That's cool. So I am going to play this, and then I'm going to, I'll exaggerate it first so you can kind of see what it can do. Now, this kind of technique is used by radio DJs all the time. They will often have their music bed ducked behind their vocal mic. So that every time they are speaking over the music ducks automatically. And so this is really useful for you if you are doing voiceover stuff and you want to have a way in which your music bed always ducks underneath your voice. So this is how you would set that up, and then I'll set it up how I'm going to in this particular scenario. But first, let's exaggerate this effect. So let's pull this guy back quite drastically, and we'll roll tape.
grey suit flashes past the window on the 13th floor. One more sad life crashes, broken by the yearn for more and more. Another spin of the wheel.
Okay, so you can hear how it's drastically compressing, and I can make it duck faster. At the moment, I've got it on 30 milliseconds, and I can make this release a little bit longer. Let's speed this up a bit, and let's see if this would have the same effect.
Another grey suit flashes past the window on the third.
Okay, so that kind of does that, and Mika's just made an excellent suggestion, which is that I should have made that a pre-fader sound. He's absolutely right. I forgot to do that. Thanks for that. So let's set that up again.
Another grey suit flashes past the window on the 13th floor.
So now we've obviously made that way too upfront. So what you want to do is find that happy balance where you're only tapping the music bed down by a dB or 2, maybe 2.5 dB. So let's see if we can find that.
Another grey suit flashes past the window on the 13th floor. One more sad life crashes, broken by the yearn for more and more. Another spin of the wheel, roll of the dice, or ace on the turn. You beg, borrow, or steal, or trade your soul for bands to burn. In God we trust, says on the bill, from boom to bust.
So hopefully that gives you a little bit of the idea of what you can achieve here. Now obviously I had it all exaggerated and I had to adjust the attack and release there a little bit because it was pumping a little bit more than I want it to. But hopefully you get the idea that you can have the vocal trigger the compressor on a bus that has everything else sent to it or routed to it, and when that happens it taps down the music so that your vocal always sits on the top. It's kind of an easy way to kind of do vocal riding and vocal automation. If you're somebody that does a lot of vocal riding and it takes a little while to get that dialed in, well, this might be a quicker option for you, where actually the thing that you want to dial in is the threshold, the attack, and the release to make it sound as natural as you can possibly get it to sound. So, kind of that is a quick way to do it. And you're not having to take up an automation lane, and you're not having to spend ages writing a fader trying to get it right. And, you may have to do it 2 or 3 times to try and get your automation right. Whereas this way, it's a little bit more automatic, it's a little bit more straightforward, and it takes a lot less time to sort out. So that's another little trick that you can add to your armory. And I hope that this was useful for you. So I will play it again and give you another shot at listening to this effect.
Another grey suit flashes past the window on the 13th floor. One more sad life crashes, broken by the yearn for more and more. Another spin of the wheel.
So there you go. Let's see, what do we have in the way of questions? Ken asks, can you do this kind of sidechaining on an event? You probably can. I have never done it. I don't think I've ever sidechained on an event as an event effect. that might be something worth experimenting with and seeing if it's possible. Certainly it might be. Let's see. Mika says, actually, if you use some compression limiting and EQ on the ducking send bus via another sub-bus routing, one can control all the details of the ducking action. Yes, you probably could. That's definitely another way, a more detailed way in which you could probably do that. And it may well be that in radio broadcasting, that's exactly what they do. I don't know whether they have it as set up as simply as just a compressor that is side chaining a music bed. It might be. I don't know. That anyway, when I hear radio announcers, that's what I hear. I hear that it's some kind of side chaining effect, whether they're just doing it with a single compressor or whether they're using a compressor and an EQ and maybe even a limiter in the side chain to do that. I don't know. You are probably right. Mika says, my suggestion is what's used in the pro environment. What Jonny has demonstrated is a sledgehammer approach. Thank you, Mika. You're very kind. This is what I'm showing you here is an easy way to do it. And it might be a little brutal. And you can probably tinker about with it until you find it being a little bit more finessed. This is a quick and easy way to use sidechaining to duck your music behind your vocal. But yeah, doing it Mika's way would probably work pretty well as well. To be honest, I don't use a lot of sidechaining. When I'm... most of my work is in jazz, or it's in folk, or it's in other acoustic music, or it's in, Scottish traditional music. You don't sidechain very much, if ever at all. So, yeah, not really going to use it very much. So, but when I am doing something that's a little bit more funk orientated or jazz rock orientated, like Paper Deity or some other song, then this might be an approach I might use. But, probably not. I didn't in the 2016 mix, and I didn't for the mixing series video that I did on Paper Deity. I didn't use it then either, because I didn't really feel that it was necessary to do it. But you certainly could. So there you go. That is my little technique that you can try out, and you can certainly take Mika's suggestions on board as well with other ways in which you can achieve the same kind of ducking and get even more control over the ducking, if that's what you want to do. But yes, this is, kind of like it's just it's just the threshold attack and release and setting up the side chain and off you go approach. It will do the job for sure. But, if you feel that you need to have more control, then, maybe setting up a separate chain before it would do it for you as well. So there you go. Hope that works for you guys. All right, let's get back over to here. Hello, everybody. And I'm going to go back into the questions. Let's go and have a look. Ken says, I'm thinking an orchestral. If, say, a flute takes a part of the melody that you want more in front but retreats back when playing the inner voices again. See, for orchestral work, I probably wouldn't sidechain. I would automate. I think that would be that would give you something much more natural. But yeah, you could certainly try it and see if it works, see if it does what you want. But you might find that sidechaining is a little bit kind of heavy-handed for orchestral work, even with using EQs in the chain as well. Let's see. Just Bob says, if needed, can you sidechain vocals on multiple instruments separately to bring the vocal out? Yes, you can. You can set up as many sidechains as you want. I mean, you saw there in my list. If I just go back over to Studio One, you saw there in my list on this sidechain. If I open this back out again, and if I go back out to here, I can check any of these off if I want to. You can have as many of these set up as you want. You know, you can have everything checked if you really want to. You know, at the moment, I only want the lead vocal to control the sidechain, but I could have anything control the sidechain. You can set up multiple sidechains on multiple things. You can have whilst I've got everything ducking out of the way of the vocal, I could also have a sidechain set up on the drums as well, so that I'm ducking the drums every time the bass is playing. You can do that. So you could have several different sidechains going on all at once. Whilst this one is doing overall sidechaining to the vocal. Because this is at the bus level, you could go and set them up on the individual channel level over here. That would be very easy to do. I could just stick in a compressor over here on my drums, and then select the bass. So the bass compresses the drums every time that happens. But whilst that is going on, over here on this top level, all the music, all of these other buses are being compressed by the lead, being triggered by the lead vocal. So I hope that answers that question. So I hope that helps there. Peace Valley is talking about how to use sidechain compression to achieve that pumping effect in EDM, and sidechaining is used extensively in EDM. A lot of multiple sidechains will be going on, and pretty much because everything revolves around the kick drum. The kick drum is king in EDM. So you would, quite often have everything ducking every time the kick drum hits, but then you'll have maybe a separate sidechain for the bass or whatever bass sound you have, that has maybe a gate on it or something a bit more aggressive, so that it is slamming every time the kick drum hits. The kick drum is triggering that heavy compression to slam the bass down, and then the bass opens back up when the kick drum is not playing. So, so you try and time the release so that it creates that pumping effect on the upbeat. So every eighth note between the quarter note kick drum, the bass is opened back up. So that's a real prime example of where sidechaining is very, very powerful and very, very effective. And certainly, if you're into that kind of music, it can make a big difference. Let's see what else we have here. Mike says ducking and high pass filtering is how everything sounds so clean. Samples and not live instruments help. No drum bleed is great. Yep. Absolutely. Put an EQ in the sidechain bus and accentuate the frequencies you don't want, and then add a second bus and duck that first bus. Is that the general idea, Mika? Yes, it is. That's exactly what I think Mika is saying. And he confirms that. Yes, he said, bingo, we have a winner. Awesome. So there you go. There's two different techniques being talked about here that work really, really well with sidechaining. As I say, I don't use it much. It's a very rare thing when I have to use it. So because I don't do a lot of EDM stuff. I have done recently. I've done some 4 to the floor disco recently on a record that I mixed recently, and yes, I did use a lot of sidechaining between the kick drum and the bass and the kick drum and other stuff that was going on in that particular track, because I wanted the kick drum to really come through nice and punchy. So yeah, I had a sidechain on the snare drum as well, so the kick and the snare came through really, really clearly, and everything else got out of the way, essentially, of those kind of those two things. And it worked really well, and client was happy, which is the most important thing. Mika says, I get paid big money to teach this stuff. I honor Jonny for doing this online for free. Yeah, I I don't do everything online for free, but certainly my Sunday Night Live is essentially free. And if you like what I do, hit the super chat button and send a few dollars my way. That's kind of how it works, really, as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, you don't have to hit the super chat button if you don't want to, but it helps me if you do. And that's kind of how I roll. And I think I was going back through my logs of episodes of Sunday Night Live, and I'm pretty sure that this, although I've not really been specifically counting, I'm pretty sure this is episode number 88. So I've been doing this for 88 consecutive weeks on a Sunday. And I don't think I've missed very many Sundays. I think I've maybe missed a couple here or there throughout the time that I've been doing it. Yes, I realize that sidechaining is not just used on EDM. It is used in EDM extensively, but it's not, you know, it's used in a lot of pop music as well. I do get that. Let's see. What else do we have here? Pop Studio says, sidechaining was originally created by Neve Compressor. It was called Gain Brain. Is that right? Gain Brain. Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Lollipop Guild says, can you play us some of your traditional Scottish music sometimes? I can, if I'm allowed to. Most of the Scottish music that I work with is not mine. I work with some Scottish traditional artists. I have a few. One of my very good friends is called Billy McKean. I think his last name is. I often forget his last name. Don't tell him I said that. Billy McKean, who is a singer-songwriter in Fife, just across the river from here. He's a great guy. He's a very, very gifted songwriter, and he's got a belting voice. I'm currently working with him on his songs. I'm writing arrangements to flesh out his songs and make them bigger than what he does. Basically, he has his acoustic guitar and his vocals, and that's kind of what he does. But he wants to, you know, create a much bigger sound. So I'm doing some rhythm section and maybe a bit of strings arrangements for some of his songs as well. And some of them are really, really funny. Some of the songs that he's written. Oh, we're getting a flurry of donations here. Kyle with a $5 donation. Just Bob with 10. And Ken Moss with $9.99. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Just Bob asks, do I play bagpipes? No, I don't. And I'm very glad I don't. Now, if there are any Scots in this chat or Scots that watch this show after the fact, I do apologize. You know, I'm not a fan of pipes, particularly Scottish bagpipes. And the reason being is, to me, to my ears, because I have pretty much perfect pitch, they're a little out of tune. They have a range of a major ninth, and kind of like, you know, when you get up to this note here, it's a little bit flat. It's a little bit sharp, but this note at the bottom is a little bit flat, so the octave is not exactly even, and it just grates a little bit. Particularly if they've absolutely dialed in their drone pipes, and their drone pipes are perfectly in tune, but their chanter, which is the one that plays the melody, isn't. That hurts. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan. Although I quite like Aeolian pipes. If you don't know what the Aeolian pipes are, they are Irish pipes. I played in a fusion band back in the early 1990s with a guy called Alan who was from Dublin, and he was an Irish Aeolian pipes player. And we played a fusion of Irish jigs and reels with sort of jazz and funk. And we put those three elements together and made this amazing band. And it sounded absolutely... It was great fun. It really, really was. It was kind of insane the way we were playing all these traditional Irish jigs and reels, but with backbeat and everything. It was amazing. And Alan is an outstanding Aeolian pipes player. But the Aeolian pipes are much softer sounding than our pipes. So there it is. Oh my gosh. Mike, Mika, you've just made me speechless, buddy. You made me speechless. Oh my gosh. Mika, thank you so incredibly much for that phenomenally generous donation. I'm blown away. Oh. Man, thank you so much, mate. You have no idea. You have no idea how blessed I am by that. You have blessed my socks off, my friend. Thank you so much. And I am going to read what you said. You said, I honor your contribution to the Studio One community and to all of humanity. Wow. Well, I am honored and I am blessed and I am humbled. Thank you so very much. That has truly knocked my socks off and I really appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. Wow. And Mike even says it. He says, damn, Mika. Yeah, absolutely. Way to go, says Just Bob. Lollipop Guild says, that off-key bagpipe sound is what I hear when getting near 0 cents, adjusting notes in Melodyne. The closer to perfect pitch, the louder the bagpipe sound. Perfect pitch is correct as far as I'm concerned. But that said, the human voice. Here's what the human voice does when you sing a note. Nobody just hits the note right in the center from the very transient of the note. Nobody does that. Not even Whitney Houston could do it. Here's what the human voice does. The human voice approximates the pitch first. So your vocal folds kind of go to roughly where they think the note is, and then you push air through the vocal folds and the vocal cords, and out comes the note, and your ears hear the note, and they tell the vocal cords to adjust, to either contract or lengthen, to adjust the intonation of that note. So basically, the human voice, it starts a little flat and then comes up, maybe it usually overcompensates ever so slightly until it settles down to, if you're a really, really good singer like Whitney Houston, to being in the center of the note, more or less. Maybe a couple of plus minus, maybe 1 or 2 cents from the center of that note. And that kind of, the passage of time between that kind of little bit flat, little bit sharp, and then into the middle of the note, that passage of time in a really, really great singer who is very, very experienced, who has very quick ears, is very, very short. But certainly at first, when even a good singer, it takes it may take 30, 40 milliseconds, maybe a bit longer. It takes a little bit of time. But if you're good and you've got good ears, you settle on that pitch really quickly and really easily. So there you go. That's what the human voice does. So the human voice doesn't hit the note straight away in the middle. Same with violin. If you're playing violin, and unless you have exactly phenomenal positional awareness by ear as well as by sight, and by sight is hard because you're not really looking over here. You're looking over here at the music when you're playing the violin. So it has to be all by touch. I was watching a great violin player on Masterclass. If you don't know what Masterclass is awesome. You can go and pay, $30, $40, $50, maybe a little bit more sometimes, and you get an entire masterclass on any particular subject. Like I think Colonel Chris Hayfield, the Canadian astronaut, has a whole masterclass on being an astronaut. Then you've got Armin van Buren, who's done one on dance music production. There's loads of others. Dame Helen Mirren has done one on acting. Samuel L. Jackson has done one on acting and directing. So there's lots of courses like that. But there's this guy who did one on violin playing, and he called it playing by braille. So kind of like you're doing it by touch, not by sight. But your fingers are constantly, when you depress the string and you make the note with the bow, your finger is constantly adjusting the intonation of it if you've got really, really great ears, which is why the violin takes absolutely bloody ages to learn. So there you go. That's a little kind of rabbit run from what we were talking about, but I kind of hope that helps kind of expand that idea out a bit. Bob's Studios with $50. My gosh. Good grief. It's Donation City here. Oh. My good friend, thank you so very much. $50. That is awesome. Who else do we have? Because I think I just saw another one pop in. Mike, you didn't have to do that. But thank you so much. $10 from Mike. I really appreciate every cent that you guys have just sent my way. It's amazing. I am totally overwhelmed. Totally overwhelmed. I know I kind of look casual, but really, inside, I'm like jelly right now. I'm trying to hold it together so that I can finish off the show. We've got 10 minutes left, and I don't want to completely melt away, so... So I hope that those things have helped answer your questions. I'm getting a little bit of spiking here in Studio One. I don't know why. I'm going to go take a look and find out what's pinging. Oh, I know what it is. I can see what it is. I can see what it is. It's my Guitar 5 that's having a little play to itself there. That's okay. I think we're pretty much done with Studio One, so I'm happy with closing that out and not saving my changes. There we go. Alrighty, so David SJ is here. He says, "Hi Johnny, late to the party again. Spent the day doing my first commission mix." Well, that is awesome. I'm really pleased to hear that, and that is a great reason to not be here. Absolutely. I totally have no problem with people not being on my show because they are working on commission mixes. That's always a good thing. Let's see, who do we have here? Hang on just a second. I'm just going to bring this over here because I can't read it properly because my monitor's a bit low res. DB Cisco says muscle memory. That is what makes variable scale instrument player a musician. Yes, absolutely. Muscle memory, absolutely. And being able to make those tiny little intonation adjustments is a really key thing. And to be able to make those adjustments quickly is a really key thing as well. Let's see. Mika says, my significant other encouraged me to send something off to JL. You all were so supportive and loving to her during my injury abroad. All of you deserve all the best. Man, Mika, that really brings a lot of joy to me. I really appreciate that from both of you, Mika. And I'm glad that you are on the mend and getting there. That's always a good thing. I hope you're feeling much better, and that you're, pretty much back to whatever normal is these days. I don't know. Let's see, what else do we have? Deer Creek Audio is here. That's my good friend Chris. He says, can you adjust the drone note in bagpipes to play in different keys, or is it just kind of stuck to the chord tones of a key, kind of like banjo favors G? Well, you can get different tunings for banjo. There are, like guitar, there are several different tunings. Like you can have dadgad for guitar, you can have drop D tuning, you can have various modal tunings. For guitar, you can have several different tunings for banjo as well. You'd have to ask my dad about that. My dad plays banjo extremely well, so he would know those. He would know about those different things. But to go back to bagpipes and changing the drone, you can change it. You just have to change the length of the pipe, and it's possible to do that. But yeah, there are a limited number of keys in which bagpipes can play in. They are not a chromatic instrument. They are a diatonic instrument. So you have, if you need to play outside of the diatonic scale, then you have to. It's like on a recorder. You have to half cover the hole, so you allow some air to escape from part of the finger holes. So yeah, that's what you have to do really if you want to play kind of notes outside of the scale a little bit. 5-string banjo drone note is usually a G. Yes, it is. But you can tune the other strings to whatever. Mostly. There are, as I say, different strings. If I recall, the drones depend on pipe length. That is correct. DV Cisco says, I only had a chanter and gave up. Yeah, it's actually harder than it looks. Really. The thing with pipes, even just playing just the chanter, is that bagpipe music requires not only just that you play the regular notes of the melody, but you have to embellish the notes with grace notes, and that's tricky. To get those accurate is very hard, because you can be doing a grace note that's like an interval of a fifth away from the main note, or other kind of variations, or you might be doing a little sort of 2 or 3 note grace note run into your main note, and that can either be from notes above the main note or from below. Turns and mordants are very common in pipe music as well, so you have to nail those kind of things. And then of course there's the Scotch snap, which is a short note followed by a long note, which you have to get right as well. So yeah, and the other issue with chanter or bagpipes is it's a double reed instrument. It's got 2 reeds, and yeah, it's quite the effort to play it. Chris says, I've run across a zillion guitar tunings over the years, but I've never seen a banjo tuned out of standard. I'll need to investigate, but it's hard enough already. Yeah, there are different tunings. There are modal tunings that you can come across for banjo. My dad knows a lot about those kind of things. I know nothing. Kyle says, I used to belong to an internet group that would meet in a different city once a year for a 2.5-day jam. Was in Canada, Atlanta, Philly, and Colorado. Awesome. Well, one of the things I'd love to be able to do is meet some of you guys. That would be outstanding. But unless you guys can all afford to fly out to Scotland, yeah, it's unlikely. Or, being able to fly me out to the United States, or being able to afford to fly out to the United States would be a challenge. But it would be really great if we could get me, Jonny, Dave Vignola, Joe Gilder, and all of those kind of people together in the same room with all of you guys as well. That would be amazing if we could all just, hang out, get to know each other personally rather than having to do it this way through a live stream or through the Facebook groups. I much prefer personal interaction, but you guys are absolutely awesome. I'm so overwhelmed by your generosity, and I really thank you guys a lot. Not just for the generosity of your donations, but the generosity of your spirit and, the way that, there are 30 of you here at the moment. And pretty much weekly, we are getting between 25 and 35 people here, which is amazing. And I'm so thankful for each and every single one of you that is on this stream right now, or if you're watching this on the replay, I am very thankful for each and every single one of you for supporting me, supporting my channel, supporting what I teach, and watching my videos, hitting the super chat button and sending me incredibly generous donations. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. I could not do what I do, and I tell you what, it would be a lot less fun doing what I do without you guys and without your participation, without your support and your encouragement and the great chat that's going on in here every week. And also, I think I can speak for Jonny as well, and the support that you guys all give him. I think I can speak for him as well. He is blown away by the support that he gets from you guys. I know he maybe doesn't always talk about it, but he really is. And we are incredibly blessed to have an audience such as you guys. And the way you interact with me, the way you interact with Jonny, the way you interact together on our respective streams in the chat, we really appreciate it. You guys help each other out. You guys answer each other's questions. And, you all know each other really well. You're all friends together. And it's great. It's like, Sunday Night Live is more like a Sunday night gathering. You know what I mean? It's a Sunday night gathering of friends as far as I'm concerned. And then, the show I do with Jonny, the Songwriting Simplified show that I do with him on a Wednesday, again, that's just another family gathering. And I love it. And, it's great. And then, the way you guys help each other out and interact in the Facebook groups as well, I'm amazed by. I don't think I've ever been a part of any online community where there is such a lot of generosity and kindness, and nobody looks down on anybody else. I love that. I really do. I've been in other communities where people are snobbish towards other people. They look down on each other. They talk down to each other. They talk down to other people that maybe are new and they just don't really know. They just don't really know much yet, and they get talked down to. And I'm so glad that you guys don't do that. I'm so glad. And, if at any time, folks, and I mean this seriously, if you think that I'm talking down to you, or if I'm talking down to anybody, whether that's on Facebook, how I'm answering a question, or on this show, please, drop me a message and let me know. Because, I don't always handle things right. I don't always handle myself the way I like to or the way I should sometimes. And, I accept your correction when that comes, if that needs to be said. So, and we've just had another massive donation. I need to go and see who that was. It just flashed up on the screen. Who was that? In fact, we've had another flurry. Bobby Booth with $2. Thank you so much, Bobby. That's awesome. I really, really appreciate that. RJ with 120. Good grief. Good grief. And DB Cisco with $2 as well. Man, you guys are just amazing. I don't know what to say. Mika has just said what I want to say. Mika says to RJ, man, oh man, fantastic. This is a great night for all of us. Thank you. Absolutely. You just took the words totally right out of my mouth. Thank you so much, everybody, whether you've given a lot or whether you've given just a couple of dollars. It's all the same to me because I know that it's your heart that speaks. And that's what is important to me, is that you guys have spoken with your hearts. And that's yeah, I can't speak. That's totally blown me. RJ, your mix, I really do appreciate it, and I like some of the production decisions that you made. I like, actually, in the end section of the sax play out at the end, where you made the sax kind of slide up and back down. I really liked that. I thought that was very cool and creative, where you thought, hey, this line maybe should go up a little bit. That was cool. I hadn't thought of that. So, and there were lots of really nice little touches. I thought the vocal was nice. It was modern. It was, quite aggressive and quite upfront. It was quite a different sound. Now, I know a lot of people that have done the Paper Deity mix, and the biggest challenge they've had is with the drums. And I totally understand why. It's because A, they're in mono. B, it's one channel of drums that's in mono. Yeah, not so easy to do. And third, it has room ambience baked into it. So yes, it's a challenge, because as soon as you start compressing that thing, that reverb or that room ambience just comes right out, and it's hard to control. And I thought you actually did pretty well with that. Because the drums are probably the hardest to get right, and maybe the vocal as well. But you did a great job. Very, very well done. I'll send you an email this week with a few more details other than, hey, that's great, well done. Because I think the effort that you've put in and the creativity that you put into that mix deserves a little bit more than me just saying, hey, great, well done. So there you go, RJ. I hope you appreciate that. Lollipop says that almost covers a plane ticket. You know what? I think it might. DB Cisco says, I just upgraded to 4.1 and need all the help I can get. Well, we are here for you. We are absolutely here for you. If you are not in any of the Facebook groups, if Facebook is something you don't do, then certainly here on my show is a place where you can ask your questions, and we would be very happy to have your questions and very happy to help you. But if you are on Facebook, come and join the HST Studio One support group. Go and join the Persona Studio One group as well. And if you're into songwriting, we've got a Songwriting Simplified page. Go and look that up and come and join the fun there. And of course, I would suggest not only subscribing to my channel and hitting that notification bell, but also go and do the same to Jonny Geib over on HST live streams. Go and do the same there, because he and I do a show on Wednesdays called Songwriting Simplified, and it is usually pretty educational and pretty hilarious. So there we go. Let's see. Mika says, I have a guest room. I think you kind of like my studio. Not to mention you live in Miami. Cool. Plus I tutor at University in Miami. Education music students. They'd love you. Oh, well, that's awesome. You never know. I may well one day find my way over to the United States. I used to be a frequent flyer to the United States because I have family in Chicago. My sister and her family stay there. She's been over there for, 25 years pretty much. And she is all American. There's not really any British to her anymore. She has the accent, she has the culture, she has everything. So I used to fly out there quite a lot and visit her, but maybe in the last 10, 12 years it's become too expensive to go out there. But the good news is they are coming here. It's going to be so cool. My sister and her brother-in-law and their 2 kids, they are coming here at the end of this month. So in about 2-3 weeks' time, they're going to be here. They're coming for the Edinburgh Festival. It's going to be awesome. I've not seen my sister in 12 years, and I've not seen my brother-in-law for obviously the same amount of time. But I've never met their kids, so this is going to be awesome. So thank you so much. I'm totally blown away by everything that's gone on in the chat today, and it's 1:10 already, and I don't know what to do with myself. So, yeah, I really don't know what to say, guys, other than say thank you so very, very much. I'm absolutely blown away by your generosity. I'm trying to find my mouse pointer again. It keeps going for a walkabout. I'm really totally blown away by you guys. Thank you so very, very much. I really appreciate it. And I think all I can suffice to say right now is I will see you on Wednesday over on the HST live streams channel for Songwriting Simplified. And that will be at the same time, but on Wednesday. So 6 p.m. Central Time, Wednesday, I'll be there. I've got a new series of videos that are going to start coming out on Thursdays. I've taken maybe 2 or 3 weeks off making videos because I have been absolutely snowed under with mixing work and production. I've been producing a couple of records, and it's just taken up so much of my time. Plus, I'm trying to write songs for my next EP. It's just been all a little bit chaotic. So, but more videos are coming. I've got some great new video series that are going to start coming on Thursdays. So watch out for those. And other than that, folks, I'm going to wish you all an extremely good night. And thanks so much for coming. And I'll see you Wednesday. Good night. Oh, and I closed Studio once. No play out music. Sorry, guys. I'll do this. Good night.